Welcome back to Horsemen Sports. Today we're continuing division debates. We're going over the NFC South right now, and we're going to talk about the Carolina Panthers today. They look at 2022. They finished 7-10, but they had fired Matt Rule. Steve Wilkes stepped up in the interim role and was actually winning games. Had they just rolled with Steve Wilkes all season, maybe they win that division with as bad as it was. Okay, so looking forward to 2023. Football's back. Everybody's in training camp. Let's talk about 2023. Did the Panthers get better or worse? On paper, the Panthers look much different than they did in 2022. And at this point, it's just unclear if they're really going to be better than they were last season. A lot of that's going to fall on Bryce Young and Frank Reich and his coaching staff, right? It's whole new offensive system, whole new defensive system coming in with Frank Reich, a new quarterback coming in, a bunch of new receivers, a new running back. There's so much different about this team, specifically the offense, that it's really hard to predict. Like I said, on paper, it seems that they got better, right? Look at some of the names that they brought in. For wide receiver, they got DJ Chark and Adam Thielen. They also drafted Jonathan Mingo. For quarterbacks, they brought in Andy Dalton and drafted Bryce Young with the number 1 overall pick. Bryce Young has already been named the starter for Carolina. Andy Dalton will be the veteran backup, kind of teaching him up. Basically another coach in the room. Right, and then you have Hayden Hurst coming in at tight end, solid weapon at tight end, and Miles Sanders at running back, who's coming off a 1,000-yard season for a team that made it to the Super Bowl. So they added a lot of talent to this roster. Of course, DJ Moore no longer there, so they lose out on that. But they brought in a lot of talent this offseason, so I think there's a really good chance they could be good, assuming the number 1 overall pick plays up to the number 1 overall pick kind of expectations. Now, Panthers defense was already pretty damn good, but they did bring in a veteran safety in Von Bell, an interior defensive lineman, Shy Tuttle. Now, those are important names because both of those guys will help in the run game. And that's where Carolina's defense, that's like their one weakness, is being a little leaky in the middle sometimes. And I think bringing Shy Tuttle, it's not like he's, the second coming of Aaron Donald or anything, but he's a very solid interior defensive lineman. Von Bell can play close to the line of scrimmage. So I think those were both solid pickups for what they needed to work on their defense. Ultimately, when you look at what the Panthers did this offseason, they put a premium on experience. And they did so knowing that they were going to be drafting a rookie quarterback. Between the coaches and the receivers that they brought in, there's more than enough knowledge around Bryce Young for the Panthers fans to be excited about what it could mean for the entirety of his career, not just this season, but his career. At some point, the numbers of years of experience just on the offensive side of the ball around Bryce Young is probably north of 100, if I had to guess. So, again, Panthers fans should be very excited with what they have. I assume they are. They flipped pretty much the entire organization except for the defense. And when it comes to the games, the potentially important games that I think are on their schedule are going to start with week 1 at the Falcons. It's Bryce Young's first regular season start after being the number 1 overall pick, right? That's going to tell it. Is the hype real? Is this offense going to do anything? And does this team look flat? Are they going to do anything? But most of all, what does Bryce Young look like after his first start? And ultimately, I have them losing that week 1 game to the Falcons. It's in Atlanta. And I just think there's so much new on this Panthers team that, they're not going to have it down by week 1. But the Falcons have a lot of continuity, at least on the offensive side of the ball. And I think they'll be able to put up enough points against that Panthers defense. So then you move on. They have the Vikings in week 4. That is a home game for the Panthers. And it's the first true test against one of the best teams in the NFL. Up to that point, the Panthers get the Falcons, the Saints, and the Seahawks. Now, I understand what people are going to say about the Seahawks. Say what you want. For me, the Vikings are the first real true test of one of the best teams in the NFL. That comes in week 4. And I think that they're kind of what I was talking about week 1. We're going to see what Bryce Young and this offense are really made of in 2023 in this Vikings game. They're going to have to keep up. They're going to have to put up points. And we're going to see, are the lights of the NFL too bright? Now, I also have the Panthers losing that game. And up to this point, up to week 4, after they lose that game, I have them at 1-3. Now then fast forward a couple weeks, go to week 8 against the Texans. Bryce Young versus CJ Stroud, both coming off a bye week. Number 1 overall pick against the number 2 overall pick. That's going to be a huge matchup. A lot of eyes are going to be on that game, me included, especially as a Colts fan. We just drafted Anthony Richardson, so I'm going to be paying attention to that game, especially because the very next week the Panthers play the Colts, and then it's Bryce Young versus Anthony Richardson. And it's Frank Reich against the Colts for the first time since being fired midseason last year and replaced by Jeff Saturday. Now I have the Panthers winning that Week 8 game against the Texans, but I have the Colts beating the Panthers in Week 9. All right, the last couple games here to mention are going to be weeks 14 and 15. Those are games against the Saints and the Falcons. To be precise, those are games at the Saints and versus the Falcons. In my estimation, the Panthers are going to be competing with the Saints and the Falcons for the NFC South. So the results of these games could decide who comes out on top in this division. And in those games, I have the Saints winning, and then I have the Panthers beating the Falcons. And ultimately, I have the Panthers finishing second in the division. That Week 14 game against the Saints does end up being the difference, as the Panthers finish 8-9 and miss the playoffs in the first season with Reich and Young. And that there is my take on the Carolina Panthers for division debates this year. You let me know what you think down in the comments section. We're going to have more division debate videos every single day. So make sure you're subscribed with notifications on, and I'll see you for the next video.